Good afternoon. This is Raymond DeLeon with Smooth Operation of Law, and today I'm going to show you exactly what a smooth operation of law irrevocable trust looks like. Many times when people make trusts, they lack the consideration in a lot of these SPC processes to scribe into the indenture as they create them the proper IRC codes for tax avoidance in the way that a trust is allowed as per the law. So that means legally. Many people put up trust indentures and they're talking all this stuff about nationality and XYZ and this and that and what they want, and that's cool. But if you're going to operate that trust within the United States, try to get a bank account, try to make it QSST qualified, which is you can get stocks from S corporations and actually hold stock, right? Because a lot of people want to get stocks and bonds, or they want to control intellectual property, or they want to impose on the trustees specific tasks, right? That might be dealing with some financial or asset protection type of capability. They lack the appropriate language. So a lot of times these trusts get hit with what's called being a sham trust. That means you creating a trust that the government would look at and say, nah, it's just an alter ego, and this trust doesn't have the legs to stand on in order to be taken seriously by the courts. It just has a bunch of mumbo jumbo. So I'm going to go ahead today and show you what an irrevocable trust looks like, created by, Raymond. And this is what they look like. These are the table of contents. And yes, I'm going to show it quickly because I don't want all my stuff being able to be looked at on screen and duplicated. Trust protectors is one of the most important portions, okay? Trust protector, if you look at my trust protector video on Smooth Operational Law, you just go down. It's one of my last maybe 4 videos from the date of this video, should be at least. You'll see that they usually handle all bitches, moans, gripes, and complaints from the beneficiary. They keep the trustees in check. They void trustees who are rogue, and they keep your trust from being administered outside of a court. This is how you keep the courts from not having jurisdiction to take care of internal trust grievances on the parties. That and a no contest clause on the beneficiaries, which allows for the beneficiaries to not bring wasteful litigation in a court because they lose their standing as beneficiaries. And it compels them that if they do have a grievance, the beneficiaries that is, to go to the trust protector, and these are and this is a list of, trust protector duties. I'll give you a little bit of that so that you guys can read that. But one of the most important things regarding trust protectors is having those internal revenue codes so that you do not find yourself in a sham trust position. Everybody that's operating for the trust, the first thing that the government is going to want to know is what's their tax liability if they're sheltering assets? What is their tax liability if they're sheltering assets? I'm going to say it one more time. What is the trust's tax liability if they're sheltering assets? You want to know how you can get your trust veil pierced on all of those actions that you think that you should be taking as far as creating a trust and that it would protect you from the government? Well, this is how you get your veil pierced. By lacking the expression of protecting yourself from that very same government. When you do not take care of your taxes, what they do is they say it's not a real entity and it's dealing with money And the Trust Corporation of the United States has firepower, and they are going to shut down your arguments and not acknowledge your trust by force. You need to be able to deal with the social order in order to be socially acceptable. Plus, if you're doing commercial activity, moving houses and things like that, that's commercial activity. They're going to want to know, what are the gift taxes? Do you take care of generation skipping tax? When you're passing on assets to your grandchildren, if you're not going to be passing them on to your children because you're trying to, bypass the liability of your children who probably already have estates, because if you're doing this, you're probably successful and you have assets to be transferring and you don't want them to pay a tax. And so there's a lot of generation skipping tax provisions, and you can look that up on your own. Let's move on. I'm going slow so that you guys can see some of the tax, the tax, elections that you can make for probate. Whoa. Now, what about administration of intangibles? A lot of times on Smooth Operational Law, we talk about handling intellectual property, and you have to impose duties as per your trust indenture, because that is the law of the trust. You have to impose duties that compel your trustees to protect your intellectual property. You're not going to have intellectual property protections and rights if you dilute it by allowing everybody, Tom, Dick, and Harry, somebody else's bitch-made mother, to just jump all up in and use your intellectual property. If you don't defend it, you will not be able to have a defense for why it should be exclusive to your right of control. That's how intellectual property works. And so this trust takes care of a lot of those things. Maybe you need a supplemental needs trust where you have somebody who's maybe getting like SSI or something, and you're not trying to give them the amount of money that takes away their benefits, but you have a designated amount in which you can give them just a little bit of extra push so that they could pay their light bill, the gas bill. Gas prices are going up, and maybe you want to put for gas so that they could get to their medical appointments. Okay? So this is like a trust within a trust. Now, I'm going to keep moving on because I do not want to give every single piece of this trust because there's specific language in there that's proprietary. And then after I'm done scrolling through this stuff, we will talk about just, just a little bit of what you can expect out of a trust like this. Okay, here goes the will and testament. It's going to be a pour-over will, but we're not going to... Well, let me get into the pour-over will real quick. Digital executors. That's a very important piece. That's another form of intellectual property because it's digital, right? It's about your communications. A lot of times, people put a last will and testament. Now, the reason why I use a pour-over will is because you are not an irrevocable trust. You are a human being. So when you got a human being who is not a legal fiction, okay, you need to make sure that your assets are separate and that you're not commingling them. And when you're not commingling them, what happens to you when you die? Well, with the normal will and testament, you designate beneficiaries, but you have a trust. Why not take everything, including what you failed to mention, and dump it into that irrevocable trust when you already have one established? And the beneficiaries that would have been the beneficiary of the will would automatically get the benefit of everything you had in your lifetime. And the reason why it's a pour-over will instead of a will and testament with just designating the beneficiary of trust is because pour-over will is a different classification of will. What it does is that let's say you forget accounting somewhere on earth. I forget about this bank account that had $500 because maybe my terms and services or whatever, expired or whatever the case may be. And you have assets that you forgot to list in the will specifically or put into your irrevocable trust. What this pour over will does is it literally acts as an entanglement of those assets, almost like an invisible web that just in case the will writer forgot about it, it still is allowed to be accessed by an executor if he were to do a credit check or look into your past and find out that you do have accounts in other places that nobody remembered. A prime example of this, again, I've mentioned it in other videos, but let me mention it again. When Jeffrey Epstein died, not that I condone anything that he did, what did he do? He was inside of a cell 2 days before he supposedly, purportedly, or if he did or not, I wasn't there, killed himself, and he wrote an irrevocable trust with the pour over will. You can find my source on that if you go into YouTube, put up into the search engine, Fox Business, Jeffrey Epstein, irrevocable trust. You put that right into the search bar and you will see that it comes up, the description that he created an irrevocable trust in St. Thomas Island or some shit. And guess what? Any account, because he was going to kill himself supposedly, any account that he wrote or had that he forgot about, he didn't have to think about because of the nature of the type of will that he created. And then he wasn't even able, then when he died and they looked at what his will and intent was, it literally shielded all of his assets from any of the people that sued him for his disgusting natures. And I'm going to leave it at that. Digital executor, hey, maybe you guys got some search engine stuff that you don't want people to know about. Maybe you got some Facebook comments you might have made because you were being ignorant or trolling somebody. Maybe some people, they troll people and they say all kinds of heinous shit just to troll them. They don't really mean it. But you don't want that left on your legacy. Well, your digital executor gets the right to go to your Facebook account and everything like that and shut all that shit down. How about that? Here's your penal codes. 18 U.S.C. Section 2510. The super subsection of 8. Okay? Now, let's keep going. If, with these documents, if your ass has a question like, okay, man, that looks like a lot of paperwork. I'll get to that schedule later in a second. If you say that's a lot of paperwork, I don't understand. That document is over 100 pages and change. It's a very comprehensive will, and I might not have an itemized understanding of that trust if I don't have a checklist on how to administer it. These are the instructions to write the vehicle. Does it come included in this trust? The answer is yes. Why in the hell would I give somebody a huge trust with all of this express terminology only to give them a Ferrari of a trust that they can't drive because they don't understand the mechanics of how to turn the bitch on? It's ridiculous. So here's the checklist attached to this trust on how to do trust administration. And this is literally a lawyer's checklist on estate planning. So there are no errors. This is your standard creation of trust in the United States with all topics on the checklist. And if you need to understand a topic to better administrate your trust, then you can look at the check boxes here and understand the composition and put it in a Google. And if you put it in a Google, literally take, like, for example, number 1, general dispositive provisions. What does that mean? And then Google will identify it. And they will give you all the examples. So you could literally become a trust master when it comes to understanding your trust simply by following this checklist. See that? S corporation issues. So what is issued, like stock, from an S corporation, and does your trust meet the qualifications to be able to receive that? And this trust, again, has all the tax language, so you know how to not fuck up your tax allocations if you're going to be sitting there dealing with those stock. Now, how many people here have seen comprehensive language with a checklist that tells you if you're going to have stock and securities inside of these are the instructions? Nobody has that. I don't care what SPC process you think you went through. They have language that just says, yeah, and stocks and bonds. Yeah, put that here. But they don't have, by definition, how to handle them. Your trust declaration is literally the law of the trust. So you must instruct the trustees on how to handle their job. So literally this trust indenture can make a nobody trustee understand what the hell they have to do. It's a college level course on itself just by viewing its creation. Okay? And there's other stuff. Okay, I left that window up so you guys can see that. What about identifying potential creditors and outstanding lawsuits that might be imposed on the party? There are so many different things. Record keeping, principal, number 12, look, record keeping, principal and income law, things like that. And so, stock redemptions with the IRC codes, okay, to eliminate non-qualified heirs pursuant to the IRC codes right under it, to avoid multiple administrations and unnecessary estate taxes. These are all things that you get prescribed in this trust. There's a lot. There's a lot. IRAs, there's a lot. CPA, there's a lot. Non-pro rata. What about your deeds, assumption of mortgages, assignments of lease, assignments of notes, and deeds of trust, preparation of the UCC2 statements, cancel old and issue new stock certificates for closely held corporations? You're not going to have, intellectual property rights when it comes to trademarks if you're not marking trade. So you're going to be doing some business. So why not get all of the language that could take care of all possible scenarios of business? If you can pierce someone's veil for using your name, because your name is a trademark and you can control the game by controlling the name and control the financial transactions of people who try to use the same, then you can capture securities on the fucking market because it's trademark infringement, and you're going to now control the trade of those bonds and obligations. You are the big daddy or the big mommy. You're the one with the pinky ring that can financially and legally dog shit slap diarrhea out of the fucking eardrum. Now, how you did that? Well, you had to hit him with a Spartan kick in the stomach with that bitch hand slap. And literally capture your debts. Amazing. So this is what I got for you guys today. If you want to get a hold of this trust, you need to get a hold of me. Link in the description. You hit me up on Messenger and we'll talk about it. This is not legal advice, nor am I giving you legal advice. All of these trusts are amendable. Do not use these trusts like it's legal advice. I am telling you, go get yourself a lawyer, blah, 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 and all that other subscript stuff. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is a damn fucking great example of how to handle these situations. Maybe I might have raised certain situations right now, like QSST, right? Maybe GST that you did not or were not aware of. You might have learned that your trust might be lacking. So if you want to get a hold of these documents, as a good educational purposes only, because none of these documents are custom made for any of you right now, right? Hey, listen, you might want to impose on your trustee that he needs to water the fucking grass on some estate property once a week. Who knows? But nonetheless, this is an awesome example. Now, as far as the Schedule A, because I said I'd get back to that. Cash accounts, investment accounts, business interests, real property, life insurance, intellectual property interests, lawsuit judgments. That's right. You sue somebody for trademark infringement, the lawsuit gets designated to the trust. Own nothing, control everything. So, go ahead and sue. FRCP 17A. Sue interstate commerce. Sue on behalf of that trademark infringement. And make sure that that judgment gets in that trust and it's not your income. Don't be unjustly enriching. But if you have to take care of a trust mission, which may include getting yourself a fucking Bentley so that you can look like you're the social class of the people that you will now be dealing with. And in order to further your business, they would have to take you serious by that fucking whip, that car you're driving. Well, guess what? You can do it. Company vehicle, trust vehicle. Okay? Registered title property, miscellaneous interest. And of course, Schedule A, there could be a Schedule B, a Schedule C, a Schedule D, right? You might even want to tie this trust with, community property and have, meaning, that the trust can do. But then you might want to put on a schedule specific designated property that only certain trustees can deal with. Okay? Because sometimes you don't want a trustee having all the power to just jump through everything. You might want trustees to just do specific activities and they're entrusted for that specific task. And you're compartmentalizing their powers and authority within that very same trust. Okay? So you can even take this Schedule A and say cash accounts on Schedule A, investment accounts on Schedule B. Amazing. Or you can look up online what's the most appropriate. I'm not going to give a class on it right now. I know what to do. If you've never seen a trust this comprehensive, it's probably because a lot of the other trusts are being created by people who have zero experience on really doing this. And if you do like this trust and you support this message that I just gave to you guys, go ahead and hit that like, share, subscribe button. Now, I've been taking a little bit of a break because I had a training accident. I did. Okay, I like to fight. I like MMA and I like boxing. And I got slept. So if I haven't gotten back to you currently, just so you know, I'm taking full ownership of it and I'm going to get back to you. But I had an injury, a neurological injury. So I'm back. Okay, I'm not hearing fucking bells. And please, okay, hit me up. I'm here. May the Lord bless all of you. And again, my link for contact is in the description. Go ahead and hit me up on Messenger. Reach out if you want to know how to obtain this and documents like this. Okay? Bye-bye.